So if you're just joining us now, in the previous video, we did a quick survey of the questions. Just glance through them real quick and then answer the question by looking at the blurb. What's this story about? And we have that all in the blurb, which is that Sandeep travels with his mother, his aunt Mamima, and his uncle Choto Mama to visit family in Calcutta. So now, let's start marking up the passage. And as we go through the passage, and as we do this active reading step, I'm going to be looking for things that tell us about how Sandeep sees things. I think my prediction is that he's going to be the point of view character because of the questions that we're looking at. I want to suss out relationships between characters, evidence of social change in India, and determining how Sandeep feels about stuff, his point of view. So let's get going. Two boys were playing carom on the steps of a small painted shed which had the following words on its wall in large black letters: National Association of Sportsmen. I don't know what carom is. It's a game, I assume. But there were no questions about it, so I'm not gonna worry about it. In fact, let me erase my underlining here. That word is unfamiliar to me. It may be familiar to you, but if it's not familiar to you, I would say, just having looked at the questions, not to sweat it. A single table tennis table inside the shed could be glimpsed through the window. The boys interrupted their game to give Choto Mama, the uncle, directions to the house in a series of sporadic, enthusiastic gestures. So if a word like sporadic is confusing to you, that's okay. But enthusiastic, we can kind of get the gist, right? They're excited about something. And sporadic means occasional. Oh yes, they knew the old couple. The old couple. Who's the old couple? And yes, their son and daughter-in-law had arrived last night with their first child. So we know that Sandeep and his family are traveling to visit family, and it sounds like other elements of the family, the son and daughter-in-law, are also getting into town. All right, let's continue on line 10. Is it a girl or a boy? Asked Mamima, rolling down the window. Okay, so they're in a car. A girl, said the boy. Mamima rolled up her window before the mosquitoes came in. The two boys vanished behind them. When they reached the house, they found that the old man was waiting on the veranda. Ooh, we had a question about waiting on the veranda. I don't remember which question that is. It might have been question 1 or 2, but we'll find out, because the question was, why is the old man standing on the veranda? Well, let's find out. Moths were shuddering round and round the lantern, though the old man was oblivious to them. He had come out because he had heard the throbbing of the engine in the distance. Okay, that's our answer for that question about why was the old man standing on the veranda. So when we do the question step, that's going to be why. We'll return to that text and say, aha, that's why the old man was waiting on the veranda. Let's continue at line 20. The night had been silent, except for the questioning cry of an owl and the continual orchestral sound of crickets in the bushes. The throbbing of the engine had, therefore, traveled through the silence to the old man's listening ear, and to his wife's ear, even when the car was relatively far away and beyond their range of vision. They had pondered over the sound, and finally he had lit the lantern and shuffled out. So what does this tell us? That the sound of a car is interesting enough to this couple that they would go and investigate it. That means cars don't come by very often. All right, let's continue at line, 27? 27. I told her, he said, referring to his wife. I told her that I heard the car. I knew it was the car. I told her you were coming. Once they were inside, Mamima gave the pot of yogurt and the pot of sweetmeats to the old lady. I know that this is also, yogurt and sweetmeats was something that was covered in the questions. So this is going to be important for later. There was no need, she said. Oh, really, she said. This is too much, she insisted, with the air of one who has just received the Koh-i-Noor diamond as a birthday present. Come, 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 said Choto Mama, with the air of someone who has just given the Koh-i-Noor diamond as a birthday present and refuses to be overawed by his own generosity. It's nothing. All right, that's kind of an interesting parallel structure there. To have received the Koh-i-Noor diamond and to who's just given the Koh-i-Noor diamond. Where were we? It's nothing. It was nothing, of course, only Ganguram sweets and yogurt, but they fussed and created the illusion that it was something unique and untasted and unencountered. So here they're saying the host gifts that Choto Mama and Mamima gave are not super valuable gifts. It's just sweets and yogurt, but they treat it as though it's like a diamond, and not just any diamond, like a famous diamond. Something unique and untasted and unencountered, so something precious. Let's continue at line 41. The son and the daughter-in-law emerged shyly from the anteroom. Okay. I want to underscore words like that because I think that shows us how Sandeep is viewing them. Because I think that this is being told, even though it's in the third person, I think this is still a little bit from Sandeep's perspective. They, the son and the daughter-in-law, both stooped gently to touch Chotomama's feet, and Sandeep's aunt's and his mother's feet, a traditional greeting and a mark of obeisance towards one's elders. Obeisance, that's a big word. And if you're not certain what obeisance means, think about the context of what it would mean to, like, bow and touch someone's foot. And let's look at how they react to it. "Oh, no, no, no," said Chotomama, struggling to keep the son's hand away from his feet. "There's no need for all this." This was half a token gesture towards modesty, and half towards the new, modern India, Nehru's secular India, free of ritual and religion. So this is setting up some of that change that we're talking about. So modern India, right? Secular, a non-religious country. "I have not met you for 2 years, Dada," said the son, struggling to get his hands near Chotomama's toes. "You must not stop me." This was half a token gesture towards modesty, and half towards the old traditional India, Gandhi's India of ceremony and custom. So again, we're seeing this tension between Nehru's modern India and Gandhi's traditional India. This chunk of the passage here is probably going to be very important later as we interrogate that tension between old and new India, because I know that's something the questions were asking about. Sandeep, meanwhile, and here I am at line 55, Sandeep, meanwhile, had come to the conclusion that the grown-ups were mad, each after his or her own fashion. Okay, so Sandeep thinks that the grown-ups were mad, were crazy. Simple situations were turned into complex, dramatic ones. Not until then did everyone feel important and happy. "Will they never grow up?" thought Sandeep irately. All right, so he's irritated, and he thinks that they're immature. He glanced around him. A single blue fluorescent tube was burning on the wall. It was not a big room. Despite its bareness, the impression it gave was of austerity rather than poverty. So if you don't know what austerity means, you can compare it to poverty. So poverty, we know, means poorness. And if we don't know what austerity means, let's continue on and see if context gives us anything. It made one remember that poverty meant displacement as well as lack, while austerity meant being poor in a rooted way, within a tradition and culture of sparseness, which transformed even the lack, the paucity, into a kind of being. So being austere means perhaps that you choose not to have a lot of stuff in the room. Maybe for reasons of tradition. All right, so cool. We've read through the passage. Let's talk through what it means, what happened in it. So Sandeep, his mother, his uncle, and his aunt go to an old man and woman's house to meet with their extended family. In fact, maybe let's make a little diagram here. So we have Sandeep, his mother, Mamima, and Chotomama. And they're coming in a car, and they're going to old man and the old woman's house. I'm going to write those down as O and W. And the other people that have come are the son-in-law and the daughter and their baby. So I'm going to say S plus D plus B. Now, the daughter appears to be the daughter of Mamima and Chotomama, and the son is the son of the old woman and the old man. So it's Sandeep and his mother accompanying Mamima and Chotomama to meet their son-in-law and their daughter's baby for the first time, after the daughter and the son-in-law got married 2 years ago. Because we remember from the passage that the son-in-law tries to make this respectful gesture to Mamima and Chotomama by touching their feet and saying, "I have not met you for 2 years." And so everybody engages in this ritualized back and forth. First, Mamima and Chotomama giving host gifts to the old woman and the old man, and then the son-in-law trying to give the respectful gesture of touching the feet of his in-laws. And through it all, Sandeep is witnessing it and commenting on it through his narration, or through his perspective that we get from the narration. I think that generally speaking, literature passages like this one benefit especially from this kind of review stage. You really want to get a handle of who the characters are in a literature passage and what they're doing, and have a very clear idea of that before you head into the questions. Remembering too that the blurb at the top of the passage is a great place to get a condensed version of that information as well. So with all that in mind, let's take that and start going through these questions.